Hi friends, E.C. Maltbia here, Senior Pastor of the True Holiness Saints Center in the beautiful city of Conway, Arkansas. And you know what time it is. It is Wednesday Word time. So let me begin tonight by saying Happy New Year and many prosperous blessings. May they come your way in 2026. So this is our first Wednesday Word in 2026. And we're actually going to do a continuation from Sunday's message. So what is our Wednesday word tonight? It is confidentiality. So what is confidentiality, Pastor Maltbia? By definition, it means protecting sensitive information from unauthorized use. Yeah, confidentiality. Protecting sensitive information from unauthorized use. In other words, confidentiality simply means what's shared in private should stay in private. And if you don't follow the principles of confidentiality, you need to know that you maximize a risk. What is the risk, Pastor Maltbia? You maximize a risk of damaging relationships and damaging reputations. So please, ma'ams and sirs, keep confidential information confidential. So on Sunday, we began with 3 things that you should keep confidential. The first thing we said you should keep confidential is other folks' business. Never tell somebody else's business if they haven't given you permission to do so. Secondly, Sunday, we said what you do for others, don't go around posting it on social media and bragging about it. Don't brag about what you do for others. Keep what you do, your acts of service, confidential. So it's other folks' business, acts of service, and thirdly, your next move. When Joseph told his dream too early, he ended up in a pit. So don't tell your next move until everything has been solidified. So what I want to do tonight, I want to give you 3 more things that you should keep confidential. And the first one is simply this: family problems. Yeah, you should keep your family problems and family conflicts confidential. My parents used to say it like this: what goes on in this house stays in this house. So what I want to do, I want to just pause for just a moment and give you our social media quote. So what is the social media quote, Pastor Maltbia? It is simply a thought or thesis that we encourage you to put out on all your social media platforms for information and for inspiration. But here's our social media quote: never turn a family conflict into a community conversation. Now that's good. Never turn a family conflict into a public community conversation. As my parents would say, what goes on in this house, what goes on in this family should stay in this family. In fact, Jesus himself confirms this principle in Matthew chapter 18 and verse 15. Notice what Jesus says: if your brother or your sister sins, in other words, if your brother or your sister, if your family member sins, if they hurt your feelings, if they do you wrong, go and point out their fault. Note this next phrase: just between the 2 of you. If they listen to you, you have won them over. Jesus is saying, keep family problems confidential. Jesus is saying to us, when you have a problem with a family member, go to them and them only first. Don't tell somebody else. Don't throw off on social media. But if you've got a problem with a family member, keep it confidential until you go and talk to them, and hopefully you'll have a resolution. But family problems, we should keep confidential whenever possible. Now let me just say this. Every family has internal conflicts from time to time. Yes, every family, absolutely every family, goes through rough patches and rough seasons. Your family is not the only one that disagrees. Your family is not the only one that has conflict. Your family is not the only family that gets on each other's nerves. It is a part of life. We are all imperfect people living in an imperfect world, and from time to time we will make mistakes. But when it comes to family problems, what goes on in this house should stay in this house. Otherwise, you will run the risk of damaging family relationships and the reputation of your family members. Now, always remember, how you handle internal conflict will be the determining factor whether those relationships will be healthy or they'll be toxic, whether those relationships will be healed or they will be damaged. What type of relationships? I want you to know that spouses will disagree, no matter how saved they are, no matter how much they pray, because we're individuals with personal preferences. There will be sibling rivalries and misunderstandings from time to time. There will be tension between parents and teenagers as they grow up. Blended families often have issues and drama trying to learn how to live together as one family unit. But the bottom line is this: keep family problems confidential. So maybe you ought to ask yourself this simple question: when there is conflict in my family, do I run to God? Do I run to wise counsel? Or do I run to platforms like social media? In moments of frustration, do I expose and do I exploit my family's weaknesses and character flaws? Or do I cover them like a family member should? But the first thing you need to keep confidential is family problems. But then secondly, and let me carry on, your private struggles, you ought to keep those confidential. Food for thought. Everyone shouldn't have a front row seat to your pain. Please remember that. Everybody should not have a front row seat to your pain. Everybody doesn't need to know your personal business, your personal finances, your personal struggles, the pain that you're going through in your life. Give me some Bible on that, Pastor Maltbia. Matthew 6:6. Jesus says, when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to the Father who is unseen. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you openly. Write this down somewhere, dear hearts. Some conversations ought to stay between you and God. There are some conversations when you're talking about your personal problems, when you're talking about the things that trouble your soul, there are some conversations that you ought to reserve for just you and God. Go in, close the door, and talk to the one who can truly help you. Here's the rule of thumb. If you need other help, and we all need a tribe around us, and there are times that after praying, you need to go to wise counsel beyond the counsel of God. But let me give you this rule of thumb. If you need to share your struggles with somebody else, make sure, ma'ams and sirs, to find somebody in your weight category. Yeah, find somebody in your weight category, or in other words, find somebody that has the capacity to hold you up. Well, what are you talking about, Pastor Maltbia? The capacity to hold me up. Now, I have a over 200-pound frame that my body is, over 200 pounds. If I get a small child and lean on that child, they cannot hold me up. They would be crushed under the weight of Pastor E.C. Maltbia. But if I get somebody with an equally strong 200-plus pound frame, and I lean on them, they can sustain me. They can hold me up. Why? Because they are in my weight category. And what happens to many of us, we start telling personal struggles and personal secrets to people who cannot hold that type of information. It crushes them. They start looking at you different. They start spreading your business. If you're going to find somebody to help you, make sure they're in your weight category. The Bible confirms this in Galatians 6:1. Brothers and sisters, Paul says, if someone is caught in a sin, if they're having a personal struggle, you who live by the Spirit, or you who are spiritual, should restore that person gently, but watch yourselves, or you also may be tempted. Paul says everybody can't restore. Everybody can't deal with personal struggles. Find somebody that is spiritual enough. Find somebody that has the appropriate ethics. Find somebody who has the mental capacity to handle what you're about to share. Keep private struggles confidential unless the person is in your weight category. So as we talk about confidentiality, number one, don't tell family problems to the general public. Number two, keep your private struggles private. Don't just tell anybody. And finally, and I'm going to my seat, don't tell your immediate family's flaws to the outside world. Keep your immediate family's weaknesses, flaws in the family, in a small circle. Let me leave you with this question. Have you ever shared a story about your spouse, about your kids, about your parents that you wouldn't want somebody else to share about you? Always remember this, church. Constantly venting your irritation, the mistakes and character flaws of your immediate family, constantly venting about them to outside people, will do one of three things, if not all three. Number one, it will humiliate your family member. They'll be embarrassed to know that other people know about their weaknesses. Number two, after the humiliation, after the hurt and the disappointment of you sharing personal business outside the family, it will damage the trust you have with that family member. And number three, it could also harden that family member's heart towards the things of God, because they will say, if this so-called Christian is out telling my business, and if this is what Christianity is about, and if this is what the church is about, I don't want no parts of it. So not only does it humiliate and embarrass people, because the family should be a safe spot, not only does it damage the relationship, but it can close their spirits to the things of God. 1 Peter 4:8 says it like this: above all else, love each other deeply, because love covers a multitude of sins. It doesn't do a lot of exposing. It does healing and covering and working it out without making it a public spectacle. Our Wednesday word is confidentiality. We've got to learn as Christians to protect sensitive information from unauthorized use. Ma'ams and sirs, in 2026, We've got to learn that loose lips sink ships. We've got to learn that there are some things we don't put on social media, that there are some things that we don't talk outside of the family with. There are some things that God wants you to talk to Him and nobody else about. Until we speak again, my friends, be blessed.